Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Bumblebee Corner. My name is Lisa. So today I'm going to do some projects using the items that came in January's Maker's Box from Sonnet's Garden Blooms. So I kind of went through the box, found a few things that I wanted to use, and I went out to my stash and I found some things that I thought would work really well. So that's what I'm going to do today. I hope you enjoy the video, and I'm going to show you what I did. So my first project today, I'm going to make over these little mirrors that I had. I've had two of them. They've been in my stash for a really long time. I was just going to paint the frames, just kind of maybe paint them a different color, give them a little fresh upcycle, a fresh look. And then I decided I wanted to do something totally different. So I'm going to start with painting the frames, and I'm going to use Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. And this came in this month's Sonnet's Maker's Box. And this is the color Window Pane. And it's a really pretty kind of off-white. So you're just going to mix it. You're going to mix it 1-to-1 with water. So 1 part of the powdered milk paint and 1 part of water. So you just put that in find a container, put that in. And then you want to stir it up really well. I do end up later, I added another scoop of milk paint and some more water. I didn't feel like I had mixed up enough, and I wanted to make sure I had enough to do both frames. So here I'm just going to mix it up really, really well. And you just want to make sure that it's really good and mixed before you start painting. You don't want any of that powder left in there. So here it is, it's all mixed up. And I did leave it, you're supposed to leave it sit for a few minutes, just kind of let it thicken up a little bit. So I'm just going to go through, and I'm going to give both of these pieces 1 coat on the bottom side. And you're going to need a couple coats. Like I said, you want to paint, it is pretty thin and you're not going to get full coverage with 1 coat. So I'm just going to go through and I'll get this first one painted. And then I'll set that one off to dry, and then I'm going to paint the other one. I'd love to know if you leave me a message in the comments. I'd love to know if you've ever used milk paint and what you like about it, or if you don't like it. Like I said, I love the unpredictability of what you're going to get. Sometimes you get a lot of kind of like the crackling, and I love the rustic look, the distressed look. So I think that's what I like most about this paint. And you could paint 10 different projects and you could get 10 different outcomes when you're done painting with it. So go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know what you think about the milk paint, or if you've ever used it, or if you'd like to maybe try it in the future. So I got the first coat, I got them all painted, and they dried thoroughly. So now I'm going to come back and I'm going to put on a second coat. And I just kind of put it on just to make sure I got it all covered. And I do want full coverage, but I'm not going to be super picky because, like I said, I do want that distressed look. I think that is my favorite. So after I get that done, I take my heat gun, and that's going to kind of help some of that crackle come through. Most of the time anyway. Like I said, the finished project is always, it's so unpredictable. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you get tons of crackle, and other times you don't. But I do like the different, like the texture when using the milk paint. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to get both of these pieces done and get them dry. And then we'll come back and move on to the next step. Got that part all done. So now I just flipped them over and I'm going to paint the mirror. And for that one, I'm using DIY's White Swan. So I'm just going to get the mirror painted. And this is probably going to take a couple coats too. I'm going to decoupage on here. So for that decoupage paper to really pop, you want to have a white background. So that's why I'm painting the mirrors, just so that when I put the decoupage paper on, it's really going to make it pop and stand out. So I got these both done. I'm going to let them dry. All right, so I decided this is the decoupage paper I wanted to use, which came in this month's Maker's Box from Sonnet's Garden Blooms. So I just went ahead and kind of laid it in there, and then I took my fingernail and just kind of went all around the edge just to get it to, because I wanted it to fit in there kind of snug. Normally I would just take my sandpaper and kind of sand off the excess, but obviously since it's recessed down in there, it won't work for this project. So I thought this would work pretty good. So I'm going to cut it out. But then when I went to lay it in there, it didn't fit. I don't know why I didn't notice this before, but these the mirrors, you can pop them right out. And I don't know why I didn't realize that before. Just kind of like the back of a frame, it just has like those little things that you can slide over to pop it out to add something. I don't know why I didn't notice that before. So I popped the little mirror out, and then I just cut out a piece of the decoupage paper, which I was really bummed because I kind of wanted that postage stamp on one of them, but that's okay. I'll use that for a different project. So I just go ahead and kind of lay the decoupage paper where I want it over the mirror. And then I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the pieces to attach them or to apply them to the mirror where I painted it white. So I'm using liquid patina from DIY as my decoupage medium. So I'm just going to kind of do a little starter strip here just to kind of lay it down. And then I take my water bottle and I like to spritz it. I learned this trick from several other YouTubers. It just kind of helps alleviate some of the wrinkles. So I just kind of laid it back down. And I just had to kind of lift up that paper a little bit here to get rid of some of the wrinkles. And then I'm just going to decoupage over top of it. So I'm just going to do the same thing to the whole entire thing. I'm just going to add some decoupage paper, or I'm sorry, liquid patina. And then I'll lay that decoupage paper down. Just spritz it a little bit more just to help with the wrinkles. And then I'm just going to apply a nice even coat of the liquid patina over top and just smooth out any other wrinkles that are in there. Then I'm just going to set that aside to dry, and then I'll do my other one. So here I have them. They're all dry. So I'm just going to take my little sanding block, and I'm just going to go in a downward motion all the way around just to remove all the excess paper. And then I'll save all the little scraps and use them for something else. I do have some Easter eggs that I want to do, and I thought all these little scraps would be perfect to tear up and maybe decoupage on some of the wooden Easter eggs. So always save your scraps. You never know when you have a little project or something that you can use them for. So I'm just going to keep going and go in a downward motion all the way around until all that excess is off. So I have this one. This one's all done. So I'm just going to lay it back in that frame. And here's those little tabs. I'm just going to put the back on it, and then I'm going to slide these little tabs over just to hold that in place. Then this project is complete. So I did decide I wanted to add some dark wax. So first I decided just to add some clear wax just to give me more control when I add the dark wax. So I'm just going to go over both pieces and just add a layer of the clear wax first. And then I'm just wiping off any excess clear wax before I start with the dark wax. So I'm just going to scoop a little bit out on my paper here. It's like a cardstock. So I'm just going to go over the whole entire thing. And I'm using paper towel to hold it. I just don't want to get any fingerprints or anything in it. So I'm going to go over the whole entire thing with dark wax. And I do leave it sit for just a couple minutes before I go back and then I wipe off any excess. I just want any of that dark wax. I just kind of want it to get into any crackle or cracking that I have in that milk paint, just to make all that pop a little bit more too. So I'm going to finish wiping this off, and then I'll show you the final project. here is my next project. I just had this little frame, and I love these birds. This also came in Sonnet's Maker's Box for this month, and this one is called Winter Freeze. I absolutely love the little birds. I have bird feeders all over my yard. So this one I really, really loved. So this is gonna be a really simple little one. So I just took the glass from the frame and I just kind of placed it on the bird where I want all the detail in the part that I want. So then I decided I wanted to paint the frame. I did like it, but I wanted to just kind of give it a little refresh. So I am using the DIY paint, and I believe that one is letterpress gray. I'm pretty sure that's the one that was in it. And I don't know if I mentioned it. I mentioned that the rice paper from Connie's Line and Design with the bird that was called Winter Freeze. I believe I mentioned it, but I wasn't sure. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint this frame in letterpress gray. And I'm really only going to do one coat. That's all it really needed. It has really good coverage. And then I wanted that rice paper to really pop. So I'm just going to paint this backing. I'm using White Swan. Like I said, I just wanted it to really pop. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint this. And then I'm going to let it dry completely. Everything is dry, so I'm going to go ahead and use liquid patina to apply the rice paper to the backing. I'm going to spritz it with water. That just kind of helps open up the fibers, and it applies nice and smooth, and that way you're not going to get wrinkles, or the wrinkles will be minimal. So I just kind of applied that first little strip just to get it on there so I knew it wouldn't move. So now I'm going to finish applying to the rest. And I do go a little heavier with the liquid patina with the rice paper just because it is thicker. All right, so now since I did use the DIY, the chalk paint on the frame, and it is water activated, so if it got wet or the paint will rub off pretty easy. So I just decided to use some clear wax as my sealer. So I'm just going around and I give it a pretty generous coat. And then after I let it sit for just a minute or two, and then I went back, I just used some paper towel and I just wiped off any excess wax. All right, so after everything was dry, it was time to assemble it back together. So I just laid that glass in there, and then I put the little bird in there, put that with the backing, and I just had to slide the little tabs over to hold it in place. And this project is complete. What do you think? All right, so for this next project, I have this little wood. It's like just a little shelf sitter that I got, and it needs a makeover. I've had it for a long time in my stash, so I just decided I'm going to use the rice paper. I believe it's called New Year's Key. It was in that was also in the Maker's Box for this month. So I am just going to paint this. I'm using DIY's White Swan. I'm just going to give it a couple coats of white paint. So I'll go do that, and then I'll come back and show you what's next. All right, so I got it all painted and it's nice and dry. So I'm going to apply the rice paper. Like I said, I believe this one's called New Year's Key, and it's really cute. I love this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and do my starter strip of liquid patina, just so that I know it's going to stay in place and it's not going to move around on me. So I just did that starter strip, and I'm going to go over the top part, and then I'm just going to go ahead and finish the bottom. Like I said before, I do go a little heavier with the liquid patina because the rice paper is heavier. And I did spray this down with water just so it would apply a little bit easier and I'd get less wrinkles. All right, now that is dry, and you do want to make sure it's completely dry before you do this next step. I'm just taking my little sander and I'm going all around the edges to get rid of all that excess paper so it's a nice clean finished line. I just felt like it needed something a little bit extra, so I dug into my transfers and I just have a bin with all my bits and pieces and leftovers. I'm not really good. I'm not sure which book this came out of, but I thought this little pink floral was pretty cute, would look good on there. So you just peel the backing off, and then each packet comes with a transfer stick. So you're just going to take it, and as you rub, you kind of lift up a little bit, and then it releases really easy. And then there was one little part of the stem that didn't release, so you just lay it back on there. And then I just took that backing and kind of rubbed over it just to burnish it, just to make sure it's really embedded in there. And then I found this little butterfly. I thought that would look really cute. So I did the same thing, just take the backing off and you're going to rub it all over just until everything's transferred. And you can kind of see the coloring change as it transfers on. So I burnished that in, and the last little thing I did was this cute little dragonfly. I just thought that looked really cute on there too. I have to say, I think this was probably my favorite project that I did today. Here, I really didn't like that bright white on all around the edges, so I decided to use the prairie gray, which was a color that also came in the maker's box this month. So I just kind of went all around the edges, and this did take a couple coats just to get that bright white covered up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so this next step I'm doing, I kind of learned. I've been watching The Painted Photographer, who's an amazing painter. So I just put some of the gray, prairie gray on my paintbrush, and I just squirted some water in this cup. And I just kind of went around. It just makes it really thin. It just kind of blended. I wanted them edges to kind of blend with the sides a little bit better. So I just kind of went all the way around. I kind of went out on a limb here and just went for it. And I do really like how this turned out. And this is my final step. I just went over the whole entire thing with Big Top, just because everything I used, I believe it was all the DIY paint, and I didn't want it reactivated. It will rub off pretty easy if you don't seal it. So I just went ahead and I sealed the whole thing. And like I said, I think this is my favorite project today. All right, guys, what do you think? Which one do you like the best? This was definitely my favorite this month. I did really like the little trays. Those turned out really cute. And even the little frame, which is for like a little shelf sitter. I want to start doing some little things for like the tiered trays, how you kind of make them up. So I kind of want to do some vignettes I have one of those in my booth that I want to start making up and doing some little things for. But definitely let me know in the comments what you think, which one was your favorite. I'm voting for this one. And as always, if you love this type of content, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe, give me a thumbs up, share it out, and hit the notification button so you get notified the next time I do a video. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye.